The hallmarks of a decaying society are always the same, be it ancient Rome, be it the Weimar Republic of Germany, be it the Western nations, including Canada, United States, and Europe in 2022. It's the cycle you see all the time. Good times create weak men create bad times create strong men, then strong men create good times again. Unfortunately, we're entering into the bad times end of the cycle, and that entry into the bad times part of the cycle includes government leaders getting decadent, law enforcement becoming politicized, and the currency becoming devalued. Then the collapse starts. So today on a vacation episode, I'm going to look at a few of these indicators that are happening in Canada right now. Hello, my name is Nicholas Wands, but I'm a lawyer in Stratford, Ontario, Canada, and welcome to Don't Talk TV. So as I indicated, this is a vacation episode. I'm on somewhat of a vacation right now with some family from out west visiting. First time I've seen them in years, thanks to lockdowns and various restrictions, so taking some time out to visit with them. But my volunteer PR guy, Richard, he wouldn't allow me to go 2 weeks without an episode. I wasn't able to do an episode last week because I was so swamped with trials, so we can't do more than 1 week without an episode. So a shout out goes to Richard Mitchell. This episode is brought to you by him, who just recently graduated from Conestoga College with, I don't know, something crazy like a 95% average. I mean, I graduated law school with a C average, so that's very impressive. It's no wonder Conestoga College tried to kick him out over his medical choices. But that said, let's get into the show. There's three main things I wanted to talk about. So the first is the RCMP investigating the fact that someone in Alberta said mean words to Christia Freeland. Now, the RCMP doesn't have the resources or the time or the ability to investigate, say, 68 churches burning to the ground over the course of 2020. They don't have time for that, but they have time for someone saying mean words. This is a perfect example of what I talked about in the preamble, the politicization of law enforcement. The RCMP clearly acting as political agents in how they and what they choose to investigate and who they choose to investigate. We're in a time period where people like Maxime Bernier get arrested just for doing what a politician does, going around and speaking to people. We have scenarios where churches get burnt down. No one even bothers to look into that. There's vandalism of monuments. You see paint being thrown on the monuments being toppled. Nothing to see here, but someone says mean words, they're going to have the full force of the law drop upon them. So this is clearly a troubling thing. I mean, this isn't what law enforcement is for. Law enforcement isn't to enforce mean words said to a politician. I mean, that's what you get into when you're in politics, is you're going to have some pushback, generally, and you need to be ready to deal with that. But it's a sign of decadent leaders that they will brook no contradiction whatsoever, and they're going to send the police after you if you do contradict them and you do try to criticize them in some way. And of course, the elephant in the room that no one ever talks about is, how come previous governments never had these sorts of issues with people being so angry at them? Could it not be because of the policies of the government? Of course, our media will never admit that. The Liberal Party of Canada will never admit that. But I think it's something certainly to consider. Now, further down that vein of politicized police, let's talk about a recent advertisement on Indeed.com where the Government of Canada advertises people that they want to hire for their work. And this is for the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change Canada. So they're advertising for climate enforcement officers who are, I don't know, they're supposedly just going to be going around to enforce pollution laws. But look at the equipment that they're described in this advertisement that they're going to be carrying. We've got firearms, restricted firearms, we've got handcuffs, we've got body armor. This is something much more, especially when we take a look at this leak to the counter signal. I generally try to stick with mainstream media so that no one can say, oh, this is just crazy conspiracy stuff. But, I mean, this is the only place you can find this. So we got here weapons armories, interrogation rooms being installed for the Ministry of Climate Change. And here we've got some blueprints that were leaked of the Climate Police Armory. I mean, so look, they got a big firearms storage here being planned in these blueprints. They're building a 50,000 square foot facility to house hundreds of ECC staff, weather forecasting staff. They're going to have powers to enter onto premises without a warrant to verify compliance or prevent non-compliance with this Environment Act. And we've already seen some of this happening in Saskatchewan. Viewers may have heard about Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe threatening to charge with trespass these environment officers who've been just walking onto farmers' fields to test how much fertilizer they're using. So again, I mean, this isn't law enforcement, this is ideology enforcement. And it's another sign of that decay and the politicization of law enforcement. I mean, what do people checking pollution levels need body armor and AR-15s for? Unless it's something much more nefarious. Now, the final one I want to look at here is this situation where Veterans Affairs Canada basically told a veteran suffering from PTSD to kill himself. That's their solution. So Global News here has an article saying Ottawa orders, quote, full and thorough, unquote, probe into veteran-assisted dying discussion. So the federal government is launching a full and thorough investigation into the case of Veteran Affairs Canada employee discussing medical assistance in dying with a veteran. So the investigation and training came after Global News first recorded on August 16th that a Veterans Affairs Canada employee had discussed medically assisted dying with a veteran, a case that veterans advocates said made clear the stark stakes of the ongoing struggle for veterans to access supports. So that's this is just, there's so many things here. I mean, this is how Veterans Affairs Canada cares for its veterans. Oh, I'm suffering from PTSD? Kill yourself. This is also a perfect example of the slippery slope that Christians and others talked about when the legalization of euthanasia was coming in. The slippery slope does exist, and here's exactly the sort of thing that we said was going to happen. Preying, taking advantage of a vulnerable individual, an individual who sacrificed their life, fighting for our country, fighting for freedom, or fighting for whatever our government says that they're sending troops to places like Afghanistan for, gets post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of that, and then instead of getting support, he's told to kill himself. I mean, this is the logical conclusion of legalized euthanasia. So, I'm not surprised at this at all. I think it's worth pointing out. People need to be aware that this is what's happened, and, these changes in laws have consequences. So, I'm going to get back to my vacation. A few things for you to think about. As always, this video isn't legal advice. If you need legal advice, call a lawyer. You can call another lawyer or myself. My phone number and website are listed below. I'm only on vacation for a couple days. I'll be around by the time you've seen this video. If there's any show topics you'd like to see me cover, please send an email to the email address listed below or leave a comment in the comments section. And if you found this video at all interesting, helpful, or informative, please consider liking, sharing, subscribing, and following us on social media.